Hi guys, Josh here from Accelerate. Today I'm pretty much going to be showing you through this 2022 Hilux we've taken from a stock vehicle and pretty much accessorized out for our customer. So it's got a whole heap of mods we've done, so we'll pretty much run you through those individually. Alright, so on the front of this vehicle we'll start with the bull bar. So this here is a Legendex bull bar to suit this vehicle. We've opted for the single hoop option on the front. Now, being a nice white car, this bull bar comes in a factory black. We've actually arranged to get it color coded to the vehicle for a much cleaner look on the front of the vehicle. Obviously, the bull bar is pretty much here to add a bit of extra protection to the front of the vehicle for off-road, and also gives us the ability to mount lights in the future and house a winch as well. So this bar is fully winch capable to help you get out of those sticky situations. Following it on from the bull bar, obviously on the front here we have mounted the UHF aerial. So this one here is the GME 2.1 DBI heavy duty aerial. It actually gives you the option to be interchangeable, so we can take off this top width and increase it to a 6.6 dBi if you wanted to get extra range out of your UHF. This one, good all-round aerial, one I personally run as well. Pretty much it also isn't super high, so you can still get into car parks and things like that on the front. All right, so pretty much following on from the bull bar and UHF, we've also added in the Safari R-Max snorkel. So this here is pretty much the biggest snorkel you can get from Safari to suit these vehicles. It's a 4-inch air intake. It's a fully sealed unit from the airbox pretty much up to the top here. So this allows us to go through those water crossings as such with pretty much peace of mind that no water's going to get into the engine. Factory, the intake usually is just mounted up inside this guard, so as soon as you pretty much go over wheel deep in any water crossings, you run the risk of sucking water into the motor. So this is a really good upgrade to do to most four-wheel drives. Also keeps the air intake a bit more up out of the dust than in here for those dustier conditions. Moving on from the snorkel, essentially we also arranged for tyres to be fitted to this vehicle for the customer. Essentially he's opted to use the factory 18-inch Toyota rim because he liked the look of it, and we've arranged to have some Falken Wild Peak in an all-terrain fitted to the vehicle. So these are a 265 by 6.5 on an 18-inch rim. They're a medium four-wheel drive tyre that's still pretty much being an all-terrain. They're really good for everyday driving as well, but will still give you that traction off-road, you know, in sand and those mild four-wheel drive tracks. They don't offer much road noise as well, which is a really handy thing on a daily driven vehicle, but these are pretty much an essential upgrade to any four-wheel drive in my opinion, to ensure you have traction where you need it. Alright, so now we'll go back to pretty much our bread and butter installation. So under the bonnet of this Hilux, we've essentially fitted one of our dual battery kits to suit this vehicle, which pretty much features the 100 amp Invicta lithium battery. So the reason why we go Invicta under the bonnet here is essentially because they're a lighter battery and you can get more capacity out of the battery itself. So you can use pretty much up to 90% of this battery in its capacity, where compared to your normal deep cycle, you can only use about 60%. The other benefit of this battery is we pair it with the 40 amp DC-DC charger mounted out in front of the grille here, and essentially from dead flat, we can recharge this battery in an hour and a half worth of driving with the 40 amp charger. So it means you can run your fridge as long as you want. If you do run it flat, it's a nice quick recovery time. The other benefit of using this battery under the bonnet is they offer a longer warranty. So pretty much we offer a 3-year warranty on this battery under the bonnet, and it has a full Bluetooth monitoring capability. So it does away with needing to mount a voltmeter in the back or another battery monitor, because you can do it all via an app on your phone and talk directly to the battery. Absolutely excellent bit of kit. As I said, we do these as a full DIY install, which are available on our online store, but it is pretty much a primary accessory in my opinion for those remote camping trips as such. Down the back here, to pretty much tie in with the dual battery system under the bonnet, we fitted one of our custom socket boxes. So as you can see, I've actually changed the orientation on this socket box to suit the tub liner. So we've just rotated it on its side than our standard socket boxes available on the website. This one here features 2 cigarette sockets, a dual USB socket and an angle socket dedicated for pretty much your angle style fridges. It's a bit more secure than relying on just the cigarette socket. We also have a Gray Anderson plug, which again can be used for another fridge or those bit heavier loads that you plug in that a standard socket won't cater for. The Red Anderson plug here essentially is a dedicated solar input. So that runs through the BC-DC charger under the bonnet and means we can plug in an unregulated solar panel and utilize the Red Arc charger to charge our battery correctly. The other little feature we did with this particular one is the factory light in the hard cover itself. We rewired that onto the auxiliary battery, so that way when you are out camping, you can have this open, you can have the light on, and there's pretty much no concerns about the start battery going flat with all your auxiliary stuff running. Awesome, tidy little feature. Obviously it tucks in out of the way in this corner, so you still have use of your normal tub. But yeah, is there when you need it as such. Moving to inside the vehicle, essentially this is where we've housed the UHF itself. So the unit we've used is the GME XRS Connect kit. Essentially the main unit itself is mounted up behind the glove box out of sight, and all we're left with is this handpiece pretty much in the vehicle. Now the benefit of this is essentially we've also arranged for the magnetic mount and pretty much the bracket to suit this model vehicle, so we can mount it here. So essentially there's no more trying to pull it on and off, it's simply just magnets onto that mount, and it's a really convenient location. The other option that this unit has, which is excellent, is we actually install what they call an RJ45 pass-through into the factory spare switch blanks. What that allows us to do is essentially unplug this handpiece altogether. We can put that away in the glove box, and you don't have any cables hanging around your car for day-to-day driving. You can pull this out when you want to use the unit, essentially put it on your mount, plug it on in, and you're ready to pretty much communicate with the rest of the group. Awesome feature of this unit, and something, yeah, I highly recommend, because I myself don't like having cables dangling around everywhere on a day-to-day basis, but when you need it, it is there. The other option this customer asked us to fit is pretty much we've got a quad lock phone mount over here as well. Essentially, it's just the mount that we've stuck on the dash. You get the matching case, and essentially all you've got to do is twist and your phone's nice and secure. This is an absolutely excellent mount for four-wheel driving, as it keeps the phone nice and secure. And it's also real handy for your CarPlay, because be it you've got to plug it in with these vehicles for Apple CarPlay to work, we can pretty much mount the cable nice and close to that location, and it saves, again, having cords dangling absolutely everywhere. The other thing we've pretty much put in and arranged for this vehicle, being an off-road vehicle and a nice new car, is we arranged a set of the wet seat covers for these. So these are a neoprene wetsuit material seat cover that are completely waterproof, dustproof, and essentially keep your seats looking absolutely brand new when you go to take them off. Again, probably something that's quite important in these nicer, newer cars, because obviously everyone wants to use them off-road, but you don't want to dirty up your nice seats. One of the other accessories we have fitted to this vehicle is essentially we have taken out the stock suspension and put it in the bin. So this customer wanted a bit more ride height, a bit more comfortability, and a few other pretty much key things with towing for this vehicle. So Craig here, he's pretty much one of my suspension gurus, and he's opted for a kit in this vehicle. So Craig, what kit did we go?
So for this kit, it's all Dobinson's gear, in particular the MRR remote resi shocks, which are sort of the top of the range, the cream of the crop in terms of suspension.
So how high did we bring this vehicle up?
So this one is essentially a 2-inch, so it's still road legal. So in Queensland at least, the maximum height you can go for any vehicle with electronic stability control is a maximum of a 50mm lift from suspension over standard. So this comes in just under that, so it's all still nice and legal.
Cool, we do like to keep things legal. So why the remote res over a standard generic, your everyday shock?
Yeah, so a couple of reasons. So obviously the remote reservoir, the whole idea of the remote reservoir is for increased oil capacity essentially for the shock. That helps a few things, obviously shock longevity. The main thing is that because it is obviously the higher capacity and all of the fluid per se is kept remotely and it has to travel through the braided hose, it actually helps a lot with cooling. So something a lot of people don't realize is that shock absorbers need to stay nice and cool for them to maintain their comfort and their compression settings and everything like that. So essentially having that remote reservoir helps with that fluid transfer, and as it's transferring, it's cooling it down. You're making shocks last longer, keeping your ride quality the same for longer on corrugations and heavy off-road use where those shocks are really getting a workout.
Yeah, cool. And run me through the features of the adjustable. So what can we adjust on these actual shocks themselves?
So the shock itself, front and rear, so the front strut and the rear shocks, they're 3-way adjustable, so you can adjust the rebound. So that's essentially how fast or how much pressure the car comes back up from a bounce. and two-way compression. So you've got high-speed compression adjustability and low-speed compression adjustability. So essentially, you can adjust so slow cornering or slow movements. You can adjust how the shock compresses, as well as high speed. So when the shock's, hard bumps, hard corrugation, stuff like that, where the shock's being pressed down really quickly, you can also adjust that.
The leaf springs in the rear of this, the customer opted for a constant 300 kilo. So why did we steer him in that direction?
Yeah, so constant 300 kilo is really a great all-rounder for people who have a little bit of weight in the back. So let's like if you have a dual battery, or in this case, like a hard tonneau cover, but also want to tow as well. So it just gives you that extra strength in the back for if you're doing hook up a 2.5, 3 ton van on the back and tow it, it's not going to squat down. You're keeping that weight over the front axle, so all your braking and steering is still maintained, which is something a lot of people don't realize. If you have too soft a suspension in the back and you're towing, the back sitting up, so back sitting down, front sitting up, you lose all of that weight over that front axle, and you dramatically increase your braking distance and dramatically affect your steering capability as well. So keeps it nice and safe, really planted, and those resi shocks counteract any harshness there may be from the heavier spring.
Sweet. Well, thanks Craig for running us through all that. That's absolutely awesome, and I'm sure this customer will be absolutely stoked. Obviously, the extra ride height gives it quite a nice stance as well, which if you're in the mall crawler scene, that's always very important. So it's got to look good, but also be functional as well, which all the modifications we've pretty much put on this vehicle is for functionality. All right guys, well thank you so much for watching this video. If you want any of the products listed in this, please don't hesitate to give us a call or leave a comment below. Please don't forget to subscribe, and if you want to watch more of our build videos, you can pretty much click up here, and YouTube thinks you should watch these videos of ours too. Thanks once again guys, we'll see you next time.